Revenim la ZF Live. I will speak in English because our guest is for this part, second part of ZF Live, Mr. Mark WEIL, Chief Executive Officer TMF Group. We will speak about the global tendencies in the market of professional services. Hello, nice to meet you. Welcome to ZF Live.
Thank you. Great to be here.
So first, we speak a lot about globalization. You published a study, the Global Business Complexity Index, rethinking globalization. What is the purpose of this study? What it's for us to take for this study,
Sure.
for us as Romanian economy, entrepreneur or multinational?
Well, let me start maybe, if I may, a little bit on who we are, just to give some context to why we do this study, and then what does it say for Romania.
Yeah.
So we're a global firm. We're 12,000 people in 90 countries around the world, and we are typically helping multinational financial institutions and corporations invest and operate in countries all over the world.
So you are an agent of globalization.
Exactly. We're an agent. We do the administration, payroll, accounts, tax, legal requirement. And so we are there to help them invest, even if it's complicated. In some countries are very complicated. Employing people in China or managing legal entities in Brazil, very complex things to do. These are local rules, regional rules, national rules. And if you get it wrong, the penalties can be very high. So for example, in China, if you are accused of corporate fraud, the state can exercise the death penalty. So that's quite a high
but
price.
Despite of this big complexity, there are enough trigger.
Yes.
There are enough eager
to invest.
To invest.
That's right.
How you can,
so we're not
can
here,
explain this?
It's
How
easy,
you can explain?
because there are many good reasons to invest in countries to do with their labor market, future consumers, raw materials. All we're saying is when you invest and when you employ people, you need to do it correctly, and you need to go in aware that, like when you go skiing, it's going to be cold, so wear warm clothes. So our report is about what you need to wear to be safe. And so we list countries by their complexity. We collect 200 measures per country. We've done this for 11 years, so we can track over time what exactly is driving the complexity of different countries. If I narrow it to Romania for you, just briefly, Romania is, I'm afraid, getting more complex. In the last 3 years, it's going up our list of the most, out of the roughly 80 countries we look at, Romania today is about the 20th most complex. So it's at the wrong end of the spectrum. That won't stop people investing in Romania.
Wrong end?
It's getting more complex. It's amongst
wrong for who?
For anybody wanting to operate here, but also for the economy. Because if you're a local Romanian entrepreneur setting up a business, it's also more complex. So what it does, there is a correlation between our index and the prosperity of a nation, the wealth per head. Rich countries are less complex than poor countries. And
how we I don't know. If you say that, the next step is for us as a country to make easier.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, but maybe it's a foreign interest, this, in order to do business easier, to make more money.
Except that the same rules apply to foreign and local interests. So if you're making it hard to do business for foreign investment and operators, you're also making it hard for Romanian companies. So what is bad for when Boeing, we have clients setting up renewable energy systems in Romania. They have choices, and if you make it too hard, they might go to a neighboring country or somewhere else where the sun shines. They don't have to come here, but you're also making it hard for local entrepreneurs to set up businesses. So, for example, in France, famously, France has a very complex employment law. the employment law, the Code du Travail, is 3,000 pages.
Yeah.
That is bad for foreign companies coming to France, but it's also
Yeah,
very
but
bad for local people.
Maybe the life conditions are better. I know a lot of British people who goes to France because they
go to retire.
They have a better life.
They go to retire.
And also we can
Not to
see
work.
this in the child rate, in the born rate. How many people? And I don't know.
Well, that's a
Do you think?
I don't know. We're claiming that.
I heard about this kind of.
Yeah.
We push here in Romania. I work for this for 25 years. We push here for deregulation, attract FDA, and so on and so on. I know this
Yes.
idea for a lot of time, but you see, in this moment in the world, we remark a different something happen in the world.
Yeah.
Do you feel this do you have a perception? Do you have a lot of experience in your life? Do you have a perception of changing in the world, in Europe, in US? We see Trump said, I put tariff 100%. I want deglobalization, and so on.
Yes.
What you can tell me?
Well, let me
about
answer I want to just answer what you also said. So we are not arguing for massive deregulation. We are saying that regulation does carry a cost. So it could well be that I'm a Democrat. France voted for its government. They like their employment law. They can keep it. All we're saying is it does carry a cost. You pay something for that. But if you like it, that's good. But I will also say some of the bureaucracy that we're talking about is just that. It doesn't help anybody. It just creates jobs for us and for lawyers and for accountants. Because if you ask somebody to fill in 20 forms, not one form, you take 6 months to make a decision, not 1 month. You have to do everything in person. Those are the kind of administration headaches that can be created that are not protecting anybody. They're not protecting consumers. They're not protecting the environment. It's just bureaucracy. That's what I'm talking about. So you can have all the rules you want. Red tape. It's the red tape that we don't like, not the protection of the environment, the protection of fair employment. Those are separate issues. And there is a lot of red tape. And we do engage with governments. So we work closely, for example, the government of India takes our study very seriously. They have asked the question, what do we need to do to improve? And we've told them. There's no fees involved, we just want to tell them. And they are acting to try and improve their ranking because they want to attract investment and they want to make it easier for people to set up businesses and employ people. That's it. Now, how is the world going? To answer your last question, clearly the world is moving away from globalization as a political philosophy, but I will say China-US trade is still incredibly strong. If you look at the volume of it, it's a little bit down, but it's still incredibly connected. Those two economies are going to be very hard to separate. So, of course, yes, Trump will almost certainly impose tariffs, probably focusing mainly on China, but the European economies, including the UK, might well be caught up in it. It's going to be painful because you're going to create force either separation or people to invest inside the US, but you can't set up a semiconductor factory in a day. Right? You don't have the employment, you don't have the materials. It's going to be very painful. So let's see what actually happens. But for sure, the world is getting more complex. You'll have US, EU, China as three major trading blocs with likely counter measures on tariffs and trade barriers. And from our clients' point of view, which are often global firms, it's going to add to their cost and it's going to make life more complicated. They will still do business. Chinese and Taiwanese semiconductors will still have to find a way into the US. French cheese will still make its way into the UK. It did post-Brexit, but it will get more expensive. That's what will happen.
Do you think the world is tired with globalization?
Well,
it's tired from too much globalization?
So I think it is a very unpopular philosophy.
Because, you know, in Romania, take Romania.
Yes.
If you someone put a list to be have competitiveness. One of the point is to speak English. So in every corner of this world, you have to speak English. Myself, no, I have to. Even I didn't studied in my. Not so very well, but after Brexit, I say they deserve the level of language of my English. So when you say globalization, you say first to speak English. So everybody in this world, to be competitive, first has to speak English, to learn English. You can't be competitive in such a world without speaking English. Do you think people realize this? Because a lot of people say it's only one-way globalization.
So let me.
One-way globalization.
I'm happy to respond.
They come to us, but in the same times. Why we cannot imagine a system symmetrical? If you want to come in my country with 1 million, make the rules in order to also my economy have also an investment of 1 million in your country.
Where is the rule that said speak English? There is no minister for global language.
Soft power.
It's soft power.
It's a soft power. Build it in decades.
So not to take you back to the Soviets, what we would call realpolitik. In the Soviet Union, I guess you had to learn Russian.
I don't speak about the Soviet Union.
No, but I'm just saying there's no rule that says you must speak English.
Not rule, but the soft power, it's more powerful than hard power. The soft power. And my question is because it's very challenging, this rethinking globalization. What do you think will be in 5 or 10 years from now? Well, because we see some signals in the world that if you can a bit explain me, do you think that the period we live now, it's, if we compare it with 89, 90, has the same impact as a change in the world? What do you think? Or it's only a stage of globalization? Well, what do you think?
So I think the world...
There is a big shift like in 89, 90? Right.
Let me step back from the short term and just point out, you have a phone on your desk, probably not made in Romania. I drove here in an electric vehicle, not made in Romania. You're wearing a nice watch, probably... We live the way emperors lived 100 years ago. You have better healthcare, better access to information, education, food, technologies.
There are 1,000 to 100% reason to be where in this.
So there are benefits.
But why people in the world in this moment do you think they are not satisfied with this?
Well, I think the benefits of globalization are not equally spread. So I recognize that globalization might be good, but it's been very good if you were poor and Chinese. In the last 30, 40 years, hundreds of millions of Chinese have been lifted out from poverty to wealthy status. It's been good if you've been...
But not in Africa, not in Latin America.
Not yet.
Who has the same system of capitalism for decades.
What I will observe is good government is helpful. That's a different point.
It's a different.
Yes. So
with a red star.
But there's nobody. You talk as if somebody is in charge and driving this. There is a head of globalization who's saying you must speak English.
No, I only ask. I'm not.
It's these forces are being created by factors that no individual is controlling. There have been very good things created by a global economy, but there are also problems. There are people left behind. You see populist governments in many countries, in Europe, in America, and in South America. And that, I have to say, is probably a result of unequal consequences.
With one example with China and capitalists who give the chance to have a better life for hundreds of millions, who is the put on charge of who? Of system? Of we don't know.
Well,
we will see.
You
We'll
chose
see.
to, I'm guessing your phone and mine were made in China, so you didn't have to buy that. By buying it, you
Yeah,
have
but
chosen.
Trump now want to
He does.
all the phones to be made in US.
He does.
And what do you think?
Well, I think
Will result from this?
the result will be if it happens,
Yeah.
it will likely cause a lot of inflation into the US because the tariffs. I've been in California, Silicon Valley last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
There are firms there, they cannot simply make phones in America like that. It takes a lot of time to build up the supply chain.
Incredible.
And so immediately it's going to mean the goods get much more expensive.
Yeah.
Because the tariff will get passed on.
Yeah.
And consumers will have to pay more for those products.
Obviously,
he will negotiate, so he'll try and
Mr.
avoid
WEIL, in the end, we have two forces: community and the commerce, the product. We want cheap product, despite maybe our community will be impacted. Okay, despite there are two forces. What do you think? Community and product and commerce. What will be in next 5 years or 10 years? Will be the winner.
Let me make another comment about globalization to defend it a little bit. You remember the old idea that no two countries with McDonald's in them had ever gone to war. It's no longer quite true because of what happened in Serbia, but it's broadly been true that nations that trade together, that work together, that do business, are a little bit less likely to go to war. A little bit.
Yeah, this
and
is
so
idea or Europe,
yes,
of Europe.
So my general view is that us helping firms do business is a good thing. It does not guarantee peace. It doesn't guarantee happy politics, but it's better than isolation and countries working
So the conclusion,
separately.
the commerce will help also the community.
I believe so. So do you think the EU is a good thing, is the question you get to. Has it been helpful?
It's the biggest chance of Romania to develop.
Indeed. And it has its challenges, right? It's not without critics and problems.
And EU maybe is an example for all the world, because it's so complicated to run an institution with 27 languages.
Yes.
And the EU, a survivor of EU, is in interest of the global world, because can be an example for all the world.
Yes.
To have together a better future.
Indeed. So it's an example of where the future is likely. So probably globalization gets more regionalized.
Yeah.
You've got the talk of the global south, the BRICS, the EU, what China chooses to do, what Trump chooses to do. And so you're going to see a more complex picture of a multipolar world, more rules, more friction, more cost. Is that going to be good for community in your description? I'm not so sure.
I don't know, but at this moment, communities want that.
Well, it's important.
What is maybe against their interest? When they will see that this mobile phone will double the cost, they will ask, what is wrong? And we'll come back maybe to the globalization.
They might. I think that's quite possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. WEIL. It was a very nice conversation.
Thank you.
And we're expecting you for another meeting and conference to our newspaper.
Very good. Thank you.
Doamnelor și domnilor, aceasta a fost ediția de astăzi a ZF Live. Bineînțeles că a trebuit să discutăm și un pic despre ce se întâmplă pe plan mondial și cu consecințe și în România. Încă o să mai discutăm foarte mult despre ce pentru că, indiferent cine va câștiga, ceea ce s-a întâmplat în această săptămână arată că este nevoie de ceva schimbări. Vă urez o zi profitabilă în continuare, rămâneți pe ZFRO.
Știu ce spun.
Gutierrez și-a mers la Kazan tocmai ca să caute pacea.
Fii serios,
Doamne
Alex.
ferește, dar n-a
Te
făcut
duci
asta,
totuși la Putin acasă. Asta spune ceva.
Știu ce te interesează.
Ce preferințe politice au tinerii de la noi?
Să fie acolo, să fie interesat, să-ți apere drepturile. O societate moare atunci când tinerii ei mor.
Știu cum să te fac curios.
O fermă din Germania produce articole textile din lână de berbeci gay.
Parcă nu le-am văzut pe toate, asta mai lipsea.
Știu cum să te emoționezi.
Vine din Suedia. Un spital a diagnosticat greșit 33 de femei în ultimii 2 ani. După screening, le transmitea că au suferit modificări celulare precursoare ale cancerului uterin. Astfel au intervenit chirurgical cu o histerectomie.
Știu să convin.
Din 2025, taxiurile zburătoare vor fi la ordinea zilei în Statele Unite.
Trebuie să ai o infrastructură extraordinară și dacă se produce un accident, câți mor?
Știu să câștig.
Hai, te mai felicit.
Știu, deci știu.